providers, I think, have a duty to play that role as well, and to bring the groups and caregivers together to come up with a united message and moving us forward so that we can continue to look for resources that enable us to carry out evidence-based kinds of projects in the community.
Couldn't agree with you more. It's time for us to take a short break, and when we return, we will continue the discussion of the future of senior services. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Just a minute.
You know, it's that time of year again to clear all that annoying dry brush from around your house. In the event of a fire, dry brush is extremely combustible and can explode. By clearing brush 200 feet from your home, you create a barrier, lessening the likelihood of spreading a fire. I'll still be here when you get back! Get the message. Be prepared.
Welcome back to Aging in LA. I'm Paul Peterson, and today we are discussing the future of senior services and how we can continue to provide for an ever-growing number of seniors with decreasing resources from our government. Our guests include our good friend Laura Trejo, General Manager of the Los Angeles Department of Aging, Dr. Marie Torres, Senior Vice President of Government Relations at the Ultimate Health Services, and Rigo Saborio, Executive Director of St. Barnabas' Senior Services. Laura, back to you. Rigo brought this up before the break. How do we marshal those very people that we serve so they can be a more effective political voice?
I think that we have various tools that we can be using. Disseminating information is critical. One of the things that we did recently when the governor released his proposed budget, we actually informed seniors across the entire region.
And they showed up, didn't they?
And they actually more than showed up. We had over 27 senior centers in Los Angeles County holding demonstrations outside of their centers where over 3,500 seniors participated in what we were calling a stand-in in front of the centers. We were really pleasantly surprised at the level of willingness of older adults to be engaged in protecting the services that they were utilizing and that they need or that they anticipate needing in the future.
Right.
Their stories were very, very eloquent and I think very much to the point that this is what keeps them at home and keeps them independent.
Right.
So we've begun to really look at older adults themselves. We need their voices.
Yeah.
We need their families. And we saw the tremendous outpouring of support. And so that gives us, I think, the impetus to continue to develop those opportunities for the community to be involved themselves. And so we're very proud of sort of the direction we're heading and trying to educate the public about the impact that these cuts will have on their lives.
Right, exactly. And nobody gets to sit this one out.
No.
There is no place in our society, top to bottom, no matter where you live,
Correct.
where you're going to escape the consequences of these kind of budgetary cuts on people we care about.
Yes.
Who work their whole lives with the expectation, and I think it's a reasonable expectation, of having someone to care for them.
Correct.
We know this. Yes.
Paul, can I just mention, because of course we had several of our centers do the stand-ins, but we also, one of the techniques that we used with our seniors at our various adult day health care and care management programs is that we mobilized them we would provide transportation and we would just show up to the office of the elected official. No appointments.
Okay.
No, they loved it. They loved it. We would go in there full force, 8 to 10 at a time maybe, and we would tell our stories. The clients would share their stories. It got very emotional at times for the clients to share their stories because many of them are very sick and frail and have disabilities, and so when the staff would be meeting or the elected official, I mean, they were just overwhelmed to see that people would just be showing up every hour, every couple of hours. We had another group go in. And I think that was very effective.
It's very effective, and it is also true that many of our seniors kind of cut their adult teeth on political action. And this is not something we get to give away. But we're going to take another little break here because Rigo, you brought along some tape for us to see some of the services so we all know what we're talking about. And Aging in LA recently took a tour of the St. Barnabas Senior Services. And Rigo, please be our tour guide as we look inside your community.
Absolutely. This is our reception area of our building that we moved into in 1987. These are photographs of our staff who are multilingual and multicultural, reflecting the community that we serve. We speak over 8 languages, the major languages being Korean, Spanish, Cantonese, Mandarin, Vietnamese, and very dedicated staff. This is our atrium area. We like to sort of give a home feel to our center, so as people walk in, as you can see, there's magazines and areas and sofas where folks can lounge around, and so that it's a home away from home. And also there's opportunities for our home theater. We show movies every 3 days, or 3 times a week. In addition, this is the Cyber Cafe that I was mentioning to you. As you can see, there are tables there set up so people can engage. This is one of our nutrition sites at our main building. As I mentioned, we have 6 nutrition sites, congregate meal sites, and here's one of them at our main building. We serve about 80 meals a day at that location, about over 350 meals per day on all sites combined. Very nutritious meal. Of course, there are standards that we have to meet in terms of the daily requirements and so on and so forth. This is where we prep our meals, and you can see we work also with Title V programs, and we hire the Title V volunteers to work with our nutrition program. Here's the upstairs of our building, and we use this particular area, open space, to provide Tai Chi classes, exercise classes, fall prevention class. And these offices that you're looking at here are sort of a reflection, obviously, of the staff of the various cultural backgrounds, but they're also there to provide case management, social services. Here's the transportation. And here's one of our physicians that leases one of our space that provides medical attention to our clients once a week. And this is a shot here of our S. Mark Taper Foundation Adult Day Healthcare Center. We're very proud of this center. This building was completed in 2003. Again, we have a very diverse service staff. Speaking many languages on site, again reflective of the population that we serve. And here, as you can see, there's quite a bit of activities. There's occupational therapy, physical therapy. We also have a gardening area in the back as part of the occupational therapy. And here's one of our social workers working with one of our clients. And here's a quiet room area as well. Again, the whole idea here is to try to set it up so that it's a home away from home, that home feeling, so that you don't, the folks there who primarily have cognitive impairment that we serve in the site, feel that they are at home.
Right. Wow, it's really amazing. What's the mix of staff, of paid staff, volunteer staff?
Well, we have about 43 paid staff, and we also then have about an additional 20 volunteers that we have through Title V.
And can I assume that there are many volunteer opportunities there?
Oh, there absolutely are volunteer opportunities, and in fact, I'm really, again, this is a difficult time to look for additional resources, but we got to get creative, because I'm really looking for someone that I can hire on as full-time to be able to be a volunteer manager.
Right.
Because there is so many seniors out there who really want to give back to the community, and there are so many needs that we have, particularly in these times where you have less to do more. And I think it's a great time to bring volunteers from the community to come in and help and address the needs of the community we serve.
Laura, for many years I have said these intergenerational programs are the ones I favor. The idea that youngsters, even very young youngsters, have a role to play in helping to care for our senior population. Besides the love and wisdom that they're able to acquire, they can do so many things to help an elderly relative or even in a volunteer setting.
Absolutely, and many of our centers actually have placement for high school students doing social service hours.
Great, and those hours count, right?
Absolutely.
See? Yes.
Many of them are doing that work at daycares. Others are entire classes. For example, we've been working with elementary schools to write letters for isolated seniors to receive one during the holidays. They write letters or make cards, and we deliver them with a meal during the
that's
Christmas
wonderful.
holiday. We utilize volunteers, families, entire families who dedicate a part of their Thanksgiving holiday to help us do a home-delivered meal for that day. We're very proud. That's an entirely funded and operated by volunteers.
That's fantastic.
We also have an incredible volunteer program, which is really gaining statewide recognition, where we have a high school that works with a senior center, but primarily these are developmentally disabled young adults who help in the nutrition program at our multipurpose center, and so they're gaining work skills.
Right.
But the other part they're getting, and they're gaining also tremendous socialization skills. The seniors loved having these young people, really trying to be of help to them, and it just is an incredible sight to see.
Well, one of the things, and I'm sure, Marie, you'll agree with me, is to end this isolation. These are not pockets of special needs people. These are our moms and our dads and our aunts and our uncles, and we need to include them.
But they're we all grew up with our grandparents around, and so it's very, very comfortable, it's natural, and that's what we need. But I wanted to make a comment on the volunteer aspect of involving youth in some of the
quickly,
settings.
please.
Yes,
We're up against it.
workforce development, future physicians, nurses,
Right.
social workers, rehab therapists. That's what we need.
I got you. Well, I'm sorry that our time is up for today's edition of Aging in LA. Important conversations. Thank you so much to our guest, Laura Trejo, General Manager of the Los Angeles Department of Aging, Dr. Marie Torres, Senior Vice President of Government Relations at Ultimate Health Services, and Rigo Saborio, Executive Director of St. Barnabas' Senior Services. And now, it's time for today's Senior Stat Shots. The U.S. Census Bureau has released data that highlight the staggering boom in the senior citizen population in the nation and the world. In the U.S., the senior citizen population appears to be headed to a 40% increase in the next 5 years due to the flooding of the senior ranks by baby boomers. The world's 65 and older population is projected to triple by mid-century, from 516 million folks in 2009 to 1.5 billion in 2050. In contrast, the world population under 15 is expected to increase by only 6% during the same period, from 1.83 billion to 1.93 billion. At this time, less than 8% of the world's population is 65 and older. But by 2030, the world's population of seniors is expected to reach 12%, and by 2050, that share is expected to grow to 16%. And that's today's Senior Stat Shot. The Los Angeles Department of Aging produces this program with CityView, Channel 35, so that seniors living in Los Angeles and surrounding communities are well informed on the many issues that face them in everyday life, and also to let you know of the many services that the Department of Aging offers our senior citizens. Now, we'd like to hear from you with comments on the program, what you like, what you think can be improved, and your ideas for future programs. Please give us a call. The number's right there on your screen, area code 213-252-4088. That's 213-252-4088. Call us with your comments and ideas. We look forward to hearing from you. I'm Paul Peterson for the Los Angeles Department of Aging, the people here at CityView Channel 35, and all of our guests on Aging in LA. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you the next time.
Psst, hey, buddy! You with the stupid hat! Come here. Closer. No parking! Do you know what happens when you park illegally on these narrow hillside streets? You block the street so emergency vehicles can't pass. Each year, homes are destroyed and lives are lost because of drivers like you who park illegally! And you know what else? You can get a citation! And you can be towed!
Help us get to the emergency. The life we save just might be yours. How'd you know?
The ball called.
Hey, look out for the pothole!
Hello, I'm Monique Chambers. I'm sitting here in Larchmont, and you are watching LA City View, Channel 35, our city, our channel.
Good morning, Los Angeles, and welcome to today's City Council meeting. It is Friday, January 7th, 2011, and we're here in the John Ferraro Council Chambers, room 340 of City Hall, where we meet every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. We will be we are being broadcast live on Channel 35. We welcome our viewers on Channel 35 throughout the city's cable system, as well as welcoming the members of the public who are here in council chambers and those who are joining us remotely from our Van Nuys and San Pedro council chambers. We're also available through your telephone by calling 213-621-CITY and through the internet at lacity.org, where there are also links to departments and a bunch of different ways to improve the quality of your life here in the city of Los Angeles. For those of you who are here for the council meeting, our agendas are available in the back. Those are made available 72 hours in advance in city buildings. They're also posted online at lacity.org, and for our special meetings, 24 hours in advance. Any of the items that are before us today, if you'd like to give public comment on them, those that haven't yet had a public comment in committee will automatically be triggered by a card from the public, so feel free to fill out a card in the back or in San Pedro or Van Nuys, and we'll be sure to hear your comments. Items that have had a public hearing already, if a council member reopens that, we'll hear further testimony, and you can fill out cards for that as well. And then finally, we have general public comment, which is for items that aren't on today's agenda, but nevertheless under the jurisdiction of the City of Los Angeles. And you can fill out a card, put public comment in the upper right corner, hand it to one of our sergeants at arms, and we will be sure to hear your comments today. Speakers are allotted usually 2 minutes per speaker. There's a timer here and in San Pedro and in Van Nuys to help you guide and pace your comments. With that also, we are now awaiting a quorum of the council. That means 10 members or more of our 15-member body. I want to thank those council members who are here pursuant to council rules on time. Those are council members Alarcon and Hahn, Labange, and Parks. We are still awaiting the following council members. Council members Cardenas, Huizar. Hello, Mr. Parks. I said you were here already, don't worry. That was the good list you heard your name on. We are waiting, this is a bad list now. Mr. Cardenas, Mr. Huizar, Mr. Koretz, Mr. Krikorian, Mr. Reyes, Mr. Rosendahl, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Wesson. Ms. Perry and Mr. Zine are excused today. Mr. Smith is excused to leave at noontime, but he is expected in on time. As soon as we have 10 members, we will begin. If we fail to reach a quorum in the next few minutes, we will have to adjourn for lack of a quorum. As a reminder to council members, I know it's the new year, but pursuant to our own council rules, all council members should be here at 10 o'clock, ready to begin the meetings. It is now 10:07. Please make your way here as quickly as possible, and we'll begin the meeting shortly. Thank you to the members of the public for your patience waiting those late council members. While we have a little bit of time, let me make an announcement. It is not too late to call in your potholes for this weekend's Operation Pothole. After these historic rains, we've seen many potholes throughout the city, tens of thousands. We've filled about 20,000 potholes already and are looking to knock out another 10 to 15,000 this weekend with 50 crews, a lot of extra crews that we are bringing out. We also can find out about streets that need larger repairs than just potholes while we're out there this weekend. But if you call 311, or if you send us through the Bureau of Street Services an email with the location of these potholes, we'll be sure to get them paved out tomorrow and on Sunday. Again, we're going to have 50 teams, crews out there filling potholes this weekend because of the rains. Those of you who have experienced any damage because of the rains can fill out claims with the city as well through the city clerk's website. But in the meantime, we'd love your help, and we've really appreciated all the members of the public who have let us know those locations, and neighborhood councils that have been out canvassing their neighborhoods to tell us about those potholes as well. Again, this is a quorum call for council members Cardenas, Huizar, Koretz, Krikorian, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, and Wesson. Please join us as quickly as possible. Thank you. wanted to afford you, you want an opportunity to say anything right now, or you want to?
I think I'll start it off right now. I see Detective Sergeant Ito is here, which is very important as liaison work for the council. As this date is the 7th, on Sunday will be the 9th of January, Sunday the 9th, and we're just joined by the great councilman of the 10th District, Mr. Wesson. On the 9th will be the 76th birthday of what would have been Elvis's 76th birthday. So Elvis Presley, who did live in Los Angeles, who came all the way from Tupelo, Mississippi, was a great artist, the king of rock and roll. So I hope everybody enjoy a memory of Elvis this weekend.
Thank you, Mr. Labange, and I know that you have a presentation today. Did you want to start that, or you want to wait a little?
Well, I did, but I think it's such special, and since there's only one ship ready to sail and only one today, I'd rather wait for the whole...
All right, we've got we're waiting three more members, council members Cardenas, Huizar, Koretz, Krikorian, Rosendahl, and Smith.
I got to sing. Yeah. Say it in? I'll give you a few. I have two requests. Is it okay, Mr. President?
Yes, please. Mr. Labange?
If my dreams could all
No,
come
I'm sorry, Mr. Labange, that's out of order.
Darling, this I know, happiness will follow you everywhere you go. Love me tender, love me true, all my heart's fulfilled. For the city of Los Angeles is a great place if we all work hard, and we always will. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Labange.
I got it. Okay.
I'd like to recognize Mr. Labange. Now we have a couple more members that have joined us for a very special presentation. If I can ask our members and the public to please direct their attention to Mr. Labange at the podium.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know it's real important that we have John Muckery escort our very special guest, John Young. I'd like to ask Bernard Parks to join me right now. Please give a big hand to John Young. And Bernard is with me right now. How you doing? This is the man, many years ago, you have remembrances of meetings. Many years ago, it's still the same chairs that are in my office that the late great President John Farrar, who these chambers are named after. This man came and talked to John Farrar. This man talked to John Farrar and others at the time about the need to revitalize baseball in the inner city. When John Muckery and I grew up in Los Angeles, and well as many of us here in this room, many of the great players came from the inner cities of Los Angeles and inner cities throughout. My favorite was Roosevelt High School, three-dog Willie Davis, a late great baseball player. But all the stories, and I remember selling the Herald Examiner when Willie Crawford signed with the Dodgers for $100,000, and I remember that headline there. But over the course of time, baseball took a second place, unfortunately, and someone stood up to do something about it, and this man did. And he works closely with our Department of Recreation and Parks, and Mr. Muckery, who is never afraid to call for help because he knows how important recreation is, which is the one department in the city that has the most volunteers, over 25,000, and coaches and others, said, John Young, help us, we'll help you. So we have a commendation here which I'm going to read, but I want to ask Bernard Parks, who also was a great athlete from St. John Vianney and Los Angeles City College. He was a greater athlete at City College than I was, but he's a great man right now. Please welcome Bernard Parks for remarks about John Young.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you, John. Thank you very much, Tom. I just want you to know your athletic ability gets greater as you get older, and I appreciate that, because at the time I was at LA City College, they didn't call me a great athlete.
Okay.
But I just wanted to say thanks to John for a couple of things. One, what he's done for us at Algin Sutton, one of the most beautiful stadiums and rec and park facilities in the city of Los Angeles. To go over there and watch young people play baseball in the inner city, to see the enhancement to the community is something that is absolutely a great benefit. Also, I got a chance when I was out there a while back that one of my favorites, Tommy Davis, was there, one of the greatest hitters in Dodgers history, who's part of this program. And I think it does send out a message that there is a need. When I grew up, I think they call it American Legion ball. every young person that was interested in baseball played American Legion baseball. And you could go to parks throughout this city and see high-caliber baseball playing far greater than what we saw maybe at the local high schools. But many of those kids went on from American Legion to the minor leagues and then to the pros and represented their community. And so it's something that RBI is trying to bring that type of attention because there has been a shift. So many of our kids in the community are interested in basketball, they're interested in other sports and soccer and things, but baseball is still the American pastime. And so, John, thank you for what you're doing. I'm sorry they brought you and didn't tell you why you were here, but they said this is a surprise, which is a great day for all of us. Thank you.
Bernard, thank you very much, Bernard. Well, John Thomas Young was born here in Los Angeles in 1949. He grew up in the central part of Los Angeles, in south central Los Angeles. Went to Mount Carmel High School, was a Crusader. While at that high school, he earned varsity letters in baseball, basketball, and track, in addition to being named All-California, that's all CIF, for baseball and for basketball. After his high school graduation, John was offered a basketball scholarship from the University of Utah as well as Washington State. After serious consideration, he accepted a baseball basketball scholarship from Chapman College, now Chapman University, in our very own Orange County. John led Chapman to the 1968 NCAA Division II Regional Baseball Championship and was selected the MVP of the Pacific Regional Tournament. He was selected an alternate to the USA Olympic demonstration team for the 68 Mexico City Olympic Games. In 1969, he signed a professional contract with the Detroit Tigers after being selected in the first round. While playing for Detroit in the Florida State League, he won the batting title with a .325 batting average. He was also the recipient of the Bill Durney Award presented to Florida State's most valuable player. John's nickname was Duke, and he made his major league debut with the Tigers in 1971. Grounding out, not intentionally, but grounding out to Boston's Jim Longberg. Lisa, never write it that way again. Okay. In his career, Stahl suffered a wrist surgery in spring training, but he returned to Toledo after surgery. In 1974, he was traded to St. Louis, where he played 3 years for the Cards in the AA Arkansas affiliate. He led the Texas Leagues in doubles in 76, and as a player coach in 77, retired. But he loved the game of baseball. That's the true thing about it. And if we think, and I see the glimmer in some of your eyes out there, the time we're in the sports fields is the greatest time in our lives. And to be able to react that and bring it back is so important. After his professional playing career in 1989, as I remarked, right up in John's old room right there, you visited and started this effort reviving baseball in the inner city. From the initial year of free agent scout in 1979, John conceived because of lack of opportunity for disadvantaged youngsters in American inner cities. John was successful in establishing the first RBI program locally here in Los Angeles, and today has grown to an international campaign encompassing over 185 cities and over 150,000 girls and boys in play. RBI has been embraced by so many communities because it teaches kids that being successful in life takes more than succeeding on the ball field. It also means succeeding in the classroom and in your community. Young is a recipient of the Constitutional Rights Foundation Award for Commitment to Youth, nominated by the Fairland Florida Marlins for the Rotary Club's Branch Ritchie Award, and also was inducted into the Hall of Fame of Chapman University. Today, this city council and the mayor of Los Angeles salutes one of its greatest citizens, who has an impact as great as anybody as a coach. So I join with Bernard Parks and all of you and the members of council and John Muckery to salute John Young for his years of commitment and dedication to young people throughout the world. Thank you, John. Thank you very much. Very good. All right, good job, man. Okay. You want to say something? Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm married to when I was playing in Montgomery in the minor leagues with Detroit, I married a beautiful Southern belle who was very strict, very proper, very prim, and who begged me, in fact, insisted that I wear a suit today. So of all these great honors, it's fantastic, but I'm going to catch hell when I get home. You know? But this is special. It's so apropos that Councilman Parks is here because I was born on 57th and Hoover at the Medical Center, went to high school on 70th and Hoover, Mount Carmel, and learned how to play baseball at Manchester Park, which is out in Sutton, on 88th and Hoover, all in the 8th District. You know, so it's such a great honor being here and to be honored by the City Council from a kid from South Los Angeles and to be back here with the people that really made this happen, the Department of Recreation and Parks, who we've done 24 years of RBI, and had it not been for the Department of Recreation and Parks, we would have not had 2 years. So it's been a pleasure, and I can't tell you of all the honors I've received, but to be accepted by your city is so special. And in fact, I'm glad it's a surprise because I probably wouldn't have slept. So thank you, and we'll continue. I'm retiring from RBI, but Major League Baseball is going to pick it up, and it will be bigger and better. So I'm really excited about everything. And I'm going to spend most of my time now in Watts, with the Watts cluster. The is on. So thank you very much, and it's been a great honor.
Thank you. And before you leave, John, Mr. Reyes would like to add his good wishes too. Councilmember Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. Colleagues, I just want to rise and congratulate Mr. Young, Councilor Parks, and Councilor Labange, and John Mulcree and his staff. When we talk about 24,000 volunteers, I mean, it's hard to grasp what that means. That's a huge number. And when we speak to all the ancillary impacts that has in the neighborhood, in terms of the families that you affect. So we don't get the stories in the media about those successes. We don't hear about the strength of the community in athletic programs. The account you just gave us of your life experience in this area and what that has meant for those families, they're not making movies about that. They make the movies, they make impressions, they make imagery that is far from the reality you know. The reality the families know, the volunteers, the goodness that's there. And I just wanted to speak to that. The image of the plane crashing sells newspapers. And that's a sad image. I'm hoping that maybe people who are listening out there take the time to look at this amazing history, this impact, and build it up, talk about it. So we can have more volunteers and more programs and save more of our youth from the ugliness that people are informed of because of what it does for their sales. So I thank you for everything you've done on behalf of all the families. Mount Carmel, to me, is an amazing school. I used to read about it when I went to Cathedral High School, and it's part of that whole circuit of schools that engage each other in sports, and Mount Carmel is one of those historic icons, and it's great to know that the graduates are doing what they're doing today. Congratulations.
You're welcome, and I remember many nights against the Phantoms.
Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. Ms. Hahn has been called on by Mr. Labange.
Good job.
Thank you, Mr. President. Whichever one it is. Well, I just wanted to rise, John, and tell you thanks for what you're doing. And I know when you and I talked, we talked about Mount Carmel. I went to Lutheran High, which was sort of in the same neighborhood, and I played sports in high school and college. But what you're doing for the kids in the inner city is so important. We try every day, working with community groups, with the clergy, with the educational stakeholders, with law enforcement, to figure out a way to keep these kids from taking the wrong path in life. And many of them have more pressure from gang members to join that lifestyle than they do from the rest of us to make a different choice. Many times the choice isn't even there. We tell them to say no to gangs and drugs, and we don't tell them to say yes to anything. RBI is something that they can say yes to. And I really want to thank you for seeing how important baseball can be in the lives of girls and boys growing up. And John told me there's a story about a young woman, Miss Posey, I think, that he thought would be great for maybe you to talk about this morning. But we know it changes lives, and your belief in our young people, your belief in the sport of baseball, how that can transform lives, really is going to change lives in Los Angeles. Thanks to Rec and Parks, thanks to John and all of you for partnering with John in bringing RBI to the inner cities. Thank you so much for what you do. We salute you. You want to tell that story about Miss Posey?
Please tell that story, John. Tell that story. Well, a lady in back of me was actually the coach at Mount Carmel Recreation Center, Lucinda Jetter, and who's really been like a right-hand man with the department. But way back in, I'd say, 1999, we just had a boys program, and there was much commotion. I was at Mount Carmel one day, and there's this little girl on top of a 14-year-old boy bully just wailing him to death, you know. And so he introduced me to her, and I spent a lot of time with her, and I said, well, we need to channel that positive energy. I mean, her dad was a three-striker in prison, her mom was fighting, drugs, and she was named a young lady, and she took it out on bully boys. And tremendous athlete, we got her interested in playing softball. She was a tremendous athlete, and I remember when I took her with some older girls and told her, if you're going to be part of this program, you got to be a leader, and so you can't fight, and spent a whole day with her telling her that. And I dropped her back off at Mount Carmel Recreation Center, and she says, all right, no more fighting. And so we walked to the director's office, and a boy came up and said something like, and pow, slapped him right away, and caught herself. To make a long story short, she struggled through school, we got her SAT prep. She wound up getting a scholarship to the University of Tennessee, where they played in 3 College World Series softball games. She got a degree, and at the commencement ceremonies, it was the keynote speaker was Dolly Parton, who was a huge fan of hers, and it was probably the greatest experience of my life, seeing this child, where she came from, to graduate from a university. And also I got to hug Dolly Parton. But she's probably what the program's all about. We get a lot of recognition for the major leaguers, CeCe Sabathia and Jimmy Rollins and James Loney that played in the program. But it's about the kids, that you really make a difference in their life. And just knowing that these kids don't have the resources to play if it not be for the support of the city, the people that fund the program. And it's something that there's no great experience to really have an impact on somebody's life. So I feel very blessed and thankful for all of this. And I was at that age plan at Mount Carmel Recreation, Manchester, all the parks. Never paid a dime to play when I was a kid. We had games when I was a kid. It wasn't the Crips and the Bloods, but we had the Slossons, the Gladiators, the businessmen. Same thing, but there was always somebody there for me, and it's great to be able to be recognized for, returning the favor.
Mr. Muckry from our Department of Recreation Department.
Thank you, Council Member, and thank all the council members here. As you can see, the Department of Recreation and Parks is committed to affecting and changing and helping lives in the community. John Young is a perfect example of a man who gave back to the community, started a program from a single idea that started in Los Angeles. It's now international. John, my commitment to you as you retire and go off into the sunset with your beautiful wife, Cheryl, is to continue this effort. And my commitment to this council, as long as I'm here, is to continue to bring programs and affect the lives of our youth and our families in L.A. Thank you all, and thank you, John Young. I know it was a surprise to you, but I know I could never get you here if I told you what it was about.
You're right. So, Mr. President, now therefore, by adoption of this resolution, the Mayor of the City of Los Angeles and the City Council hereby salute John Young for his great years of service, and also know that one person could be a champion, and this is our champion. Thank you, John Young.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, Mr. Young, and thank you very much, Mr. Labange, and everybody for those great stories and for that very kind and deserving recognition. With that, Mr. Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Halleck, Cardenas, Hahn, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weston, Zine, Garcetti. 13 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
All right, if we can run through the agenda, and then I'll call Mr. Smith for recognition. But colleagues, any items you'd like to call special? First items, please.
Approval of the minutes.
All right, Mr. Smith moves, Mr. Wesson seconds. Without objection, those minutes will be approved. Next items.
Mandatory resolutions for approval.
All right, Mr. Krikorian moves, and Mr. Koretz seconds. Without objection, those will be approved as well. If we can run through the agenda, please.
First item on the agenda, item 1, is a building and safety lien notice for public hearing.
Okay, there are no cards from that, so we'll close the public hearing, and if nobody wishes to call that special, we can vote on that. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next items.
Items 2 and 3 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay. Anybody wishing to call those special to reopen the public hearing? Seeing none, let's prepare the roll on 2 and 3 and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Items 4 through 6 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
All right, without objection, those will be considered. We have a card on item 6, and otherwise we don't have cards on 4 and 5. Let's go. Anybody wishing to call those special? Seeing none, let's prepare the roll and tabulate the vote on 4 and 5.
13 ayes.
Okay, those are approved. Next item.
On the continuation agenda, item 7 is an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
All right, if there's no objection, we'll consider that, and we do have a card on that. We'll call that special as well. I'd like to recognize Mr. Smith for a recognition.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very pleased to introduce a very, very special young guest that's here today. We're fortunate to have with us. He just stood up. His name is Winston Carmody. He's 6 years old. He's a Boy Scout, and he's here today. Winston is here to earn his citizenship badge in the Boy Scouts, and so he's here to see how city government works. He's here with his sister Jessica. What was that?
Cub Scout.
Cub Scout. Did I say Boy Scout? Cub Scout. Okay. I stand corrected, Mr. President. Thank you very much for that. He's here with his sister Jessica. Jessica, say hello. Wave. And his mother Cindy, and his proud father, who is also a very distinguished member of our city family, Sergeant Sean Carmody, who is with the Los Angeles Police Department Traffic Division. Sergeant, say hello. Thank you for your service. And I got my badge today from the sergeant, so I'm an official member now of Valley Traffic Division, and very proud. We're proud to have you here, sir. We're proud of all you do. Your son's following obviously your tradition is a great service to the community, and we welcome all of you. And I asked Sean, I said, did the boy get out of school today? Is it really a good day? And he says, no, they're out anyway. So they didn't get the double value of being here today, but he is here today to learn about city government. We're very, very happy to have all of you here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. We'll now go to our public comment for items not on today's agenda. Arnold Sachs, if you'd like to come forward, you're the first speaker. Walter Bechtel will follow Mr. Sachs. This is for items not on today's agenda, but nevertheless under the jurisdiction of the City of Los Angeles. Good morning.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Arnold Sachs. I actually wanted to take a couple minutes now and make some comments regarding yesterday's press conference by the mayor and discussing the layoffs of the police department's status with new employees. You know, it wouldn't be so ludicrous, and it would be more standing if, in fact, the mayor had included in his press conference what happened with the trash fee increases that the city imposed on the public to hire new police officers. You know, not the first trash increase, but the second trash increase that generated $100 million that was supposed to go, more than $100 million that was supposed to go for the hiring of police officers. We had numerous council members stand behind the mayor, all saying we need to have those police officers, we need to have the funds. But you had a funding mechanism, trash increases. So maybe, oh yeah, that's right, $100 million went for salaries. But it was supposed to go for new police officers. So in 4 years, give or take 6 months, with all the recession, with all the running around talking about how badly the city's financial situation is, the city council and the mayor have managed to come up with $130 million in pay raises for city employees. Libraries have closed, parks have closed, programs have been cut, and $130 million have come up for pay raises. And now the mayor is saying we're not cutting any more police, we need to hire more police. Mr. Mayor, call for another trash increase. It worked twice already. I'm sure the public will go along with it. You have the backing of the city council. It's a great idea. What a crap.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Our next speaker is
Walter Bechtel.
Walter Bechtel. That's correct. Thank you. After that will be Richard Robinson.
Morning. I forgot what I was going to talk about. I'm half asleep. Can't get any sleep over there. I was going to say something about. I was going to pass the mic because I forgot. I didn't write down what I was going to talk about. So just go ahead and let somebody else say something. Thank you anyway.
Mr. President, members.
Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, sir. In 1971, driving here from Michigan, Mr. President, members, I parked my new Chevrolet at 5th and Main in front of the former $1 Million Hotel. I had recently divorced, and I was looking for a life. The University of Michigan is my home. The folks there sort of suggested that I stop hanging out in that ivory tower and do something with my life, stop crying about a divorce. So I made homeless people my love. I didn't know at the time how much I loved them. But after 10 years of cleaning toilets at Pershing Square ad infinitum, I've arrived at the point where I know that hotel at 5th and Main in downtown Los Angeles can be the site of a community awareness treatment service utilizing Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom's expertise at solving the problem of homelessness in San Francisco. There are no people hurting in San Francisco because of Gavin Newsom. His Care Not Cash works. His community awareness treatment service was started by Willie Brown. I hope to be able to bring that concept into Los Angeles and utilize that hotel at 5th and Main as a community awareness and treatment service. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Dan Mariscal is our next speaker. After that is Timothy Butcher. Good morning, sir.
Morning. My name is Dan Mariscal. I'm a city employee with the Department of Public Works, Bureau of Street Services. I'm here today to tell you about a disservice that's being performed on the voters and residents of the city of Los Angeles. I'm here to talk about a little bit about the motion from Mr. Huizar regarding the layoffs. I don't know whether or not you've been driving around the city of LA, but the city of LA has been degrading. This was once a world-class city. These unnecessary cuts and diminishment of services is hurting. It's not just hurting the employees, it's hurting the city of Los Angeles. And you need to be made aware of this. You're currently sitting on over $500 million on federal ARA funds, and at the same time talking about even more layoffs to cause more pain on the city of Los Angeles. The residents are paying the same amount. As a matter of fact, you've even increased the DWP money in their bills. So they're actually paying more for services and getting less services.
Excuse me, sir, if I could just interrupt you. If I could ask folks to please take their conversations outside or to please minimize it so we can listen to our public speakers. Thank you. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Thank you. The city of LA is paying more money for less services, and it's starting to be a little unsafe now. These potholes, I'm sure you've been driving around in, the trees that are coming down, falling over, the trash that's being left out there is attracting rats and vermin. This is taking its toll. And it doesn't make any sense that you're sitting on all this money that we may have to give back if it's not used. It doesn't make any sense to have to sit on it and not use it. It was meant for infrastructure. It was meant to create and or retain jobs. Let's get off the duff. Let's get off this dime, and let's fix what's wrong with Los Angeles. Let's do it together. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And as Mr. Mariscal and I talked about outside, but for the public as well, next Friday before the council meeting at 9 o'clock, our ad hoc committee will be discussing street services money in particular from the stimulus funds and why they aren't moving as quickly as I think we'd like to see them move, and so we hope that you'll join us there. Mr. Butcher. Good morning. Good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to mirror many of Mr. Mariscal's comments. I also work for street services. I'm in resurfacing in particular, and I'm sure many of you are receiving phone calls from your constituents, and you too drive the streets of your districts, and you see the shape that the streets are in. Especially the rains that we've had, the streets are really taking a pummeling. And if there's any way at all that we can figure out how to stop furloughs and get us back to work 5 days a week so we can get out there and get these streets fixed. As Mr. Mariscal mentioned, there are some federal fundings out there. There's some state money also coming. If we could put that stuff to use, we can get out and get these streets in much better shape. The constituents are suffering. Their cars are getting beat up. I'm sure you're aware there's going to be lawsuits coming out from damage to vehicles and heaven forbid somebody getting hurt because of the deteriorating situation in the streets. We want to get out there and fix these streets. We are world class in our service, in our level of professionalism, the ability that we have to repair these streets. We're second to none in the ability that we have for getting these streets fixed. Please let us get back to doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Timothy, and thank you for your service to the people of L.A. Alan Peszek is our last speaker. Alan Peszek.
Thank you, members of council. My name is Alan Peszek, 16-year employee of the City of Los Angeles, Department of General Services. I'm furloughed. My co-workers are being laid off. We still question the $640 million of unpaid taxes by vendors who already lease parking structures owned by the city. And yet you want to lease out more. We can't even collect the taxes that are owed to us. Those are our jobs. Another $520 million in unpaid tickets, parking tickets, ambulance fees. If I do the math right, that's over $1 billion. We're not the ones who put the city in this. We do a good job for the city. We care about our jobs. We care about our families. There are ways to stop furloughing and laying off. The money's there. It's just got to be spent wisely. This is something that needs to be looked at as far as recycling. Last figures I have, get about $8 million plus a year in recycling. If we collected all the recycling from the blue bins, from the residential areas, we'd probably triple that. There's a lot of money to be had. We just got to find it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Clyde Williams is our next speaker for public comment.
Dr. Clyde Williams, 4115 Barrett Road, El Sereno, Northeast LA, also a member of the Sierra Club Transportation Committee. And last night, the Transportation Committee voted to look at the parking structures. That is, that they don't want them sold, and that maybe they should be converted to some sort of public-private partnership something improved, but first off, collect all of the outstanding fees that have not been paid. So, pricing of the city's public parking structures. There were a lot of comments, but it was basically, don't sell the parking structures, change the pricing structure, improve the service. It can be done. Much better than Chicago had. Okay, potholes. It seemed that the TVs were notified as to when the pothole repairs were going to be done last weekend, but the NCs, neighborhood councils, were not. We've submitted about 50 pothole requests, but we were told that the deadline is at 12 o'clock today, so we'd like to have an extension for maybe next weekend. I don't know. It seems to be the king of potholes, or maybe the queen of potholes, Cynthia. So we're trying to help. We're also trying to help on graffiti. 2 months ago, we donated $500 worth of graffiti removal supplies to our people within the neighborhood councils. We didn't know that the Office of Community Beautification was doing the same thing. They didn't know that the neighborhood councils do the same thing. So it seems like there's a disconnect between the two. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. There will be, that's just the deadline for this weekend's stuff, but if you get those in past noon today, we'll be hitting them Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. We filled 20,000 potholes before this weekend already, and I know those crews will be out there as well, and we're working on the very issues that were raised about the furloughs as well. Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, what I was going to say, is that okay to say something now?
I'm sorry, sir. We finished public comment. If you want to very briefly say, like maybe 15 seconds.
I'm going to read off of this piece of paper here, and that'll be what I have to say.
Well, why don't you submit it to the record then, since we've finished the public comment?
You know, when you can't figure out...
Sorry, sir. If we change the rules for one person, we're going to have to make that same courtesy out of fairness to everybody, but why don't you give us the piece of paper and we'll make sure that it gets circulated, okay? Thank you, sir. We'll go to items called special now. And first item is number 6, called special for a card. Arnold Sachs, if you'd like to come forward, you're right there. There's the easement for street and street lighting, sir, on 146 East Voyage.
Good morning again, Arnold Sachs. Again, the reason I held this again, basically is the language of the item. You know, in my public comment, I addressed the trash fee increases that were supposed to go for hiring police. In this item, number 6, you're authorizing the Board of Public Works to acquire the easement for street and street lighting purposes. But the Board of Public Works is not does that mean the Board of Public Works is acquiring this property on behalf of the Department of Public Works? Because the Board of Public Works is a board appointed by the mayor, I believe. Those are mayoral appointees sitting on the board, not elected officials, not city employees, not any relationship to the city. So it would help to clarify, and I'm just asking for the clarification here, of are they acquiring this property on behalf of the city department of the Board of Public Works? You know, we hear a lot about LAWA, we hear a lot about DWP, and the property that they own is not city property unless it's being taxed. Then it's city property. But when it's sold, the money is returned back to those proprietary departments. So again, I ask for a clarification. You clarified last week regarding lighting districts, Mr. President. Is the Department of Public Works, the Board of Public Works, acquiring this property per the board or for the department? Thank you.
Thank you. That will be our last public comment on item 6. If no members wish to be heard, we'll go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you. We'll see if we can get you an answer from somebody, but the Board of Public Works is the governing body for the department. The next item, please.
Item 7, called special for cards.
Mr. Sachs, if you'd like to come forward for item number 7 now. And you can stay close for number 8 as well. That will follow that.
Yes, very quickly. Report on the California Commission on the Fair Administration of Justice. Just look at yesterday, the New Year's headlines. Governor Schwarzenegger pardons Fabian Nunez's son, sentenced for... That's right, he didn't kill the person that was stabbed to death. He only stabbed 2 other people. So a Commission on Fair Administration of Justice, when the governor has the right to issue such ridiculous pardons, maybe we can get a letter from the city police department to analyze that action. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and prepare the roll on item 7 and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you. If we can call the roll for the special meeting.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Hahn, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti, 13 members present and a quorum is present.
Okay. We have item 8. We have 2 cards from the public. Let's take those first. Mr. Sachs, if you'd like to come forward, and then Dr. Williams.
Yes, thank you again, Arnold Sachs. In this item number 8, it refers to the fiscal impact statement that $3.25 million over the proposed initial 10-year term for the Airport Revenue Fund, which is money, I guess, going to the airport. $3.25 million works out to $325,000 a year. Now, I've come before the City Council, I've come before the Department of Transportation, and I've asked about the lease for the concession stand at the taxi holding lot that is paid to the overseers of the taxi service. That's approximately $225,000 a year, which comes to $2.25 million over a 10-year period. They're still getting the money. Why is this being addressed and that not being addressed? What is the difference, and how come that $2.25 million is not considered important enough, but this $3.25 million is? Thank you again for clarifying your answers and your time.
Thank you. Dr. Williams is our next speaker.
Dr. Clyde Williams, El Sereno, why are we interested in this? One of the elements here is Recreation and Parks Department and their contracts and their leases. You need to have a lot more reporting and monitoring of these leases on an annual basis so that the improvements are actually done, so that the contract is actually enforced, so that you actually get some money from this in a timely fashion, unlike the parking structures. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I would like to take this opportunity to thank and commend the LAWA staff. Some people assume that you wouldn't hear me say that. Thank the LAWA staff for their good work. This is a project that has been long overdue. It's gone through several RFP processes. This is a cool little golf course in my district that is owned by LAWA, which most of us know LAWA as the Van Nuys Airport owners and the managers and the LAX and Ontario Airport, etc. But this is a piece of land at the end of the landing strip that is dedicated to open space and properly utilized as an asset to the community, where it's a golf course and a driving range and a restaurant, etc. But the fact of the matter is I've been the councilman for 7 years, and I was very happy to go and want to play golf there one day when I became the councilman, because I knew of the golf course and I played there before, and I was just amazed at how dilapidated it was. And unfortunately, it was on a month-to-month lease already, and it's been on a month-to-month lease until now. And I think it's really important for us to understand that sometimes there are circumstances beyond the control of the staff, there are circumstances beyond the control of all of us, but I just wanted to say thank you to the LAWA staff for finally pulling this together and getting an operator who I've met with and who's made commitments to myself in writing, to the community, and part of the contract to make sure that young people in the San Fernando Valley who otherwise might not afford to play golf are going to be able to play golf there and know that that's going to be their home and their place. I'm very, very proud to say that when I was in the state legislature, I ran a quick little program like that in Sylmar, and lo and behold, just a few years later, there was a young lady right here being honored, and at that time, she was a 3 handicap. And for those of you who don't play golf, that is an amazing number. And she was 16 years old at the time, and she became ranked in the top 30 young women in the country in golf, and her father never played golf. Her mother never played golf. Nobody in her entire family ever played golf until she was able to play in this free program that was started at El Carrizo Golf Course under the day-to-day guidance of my staff and the funding that I was able to put together. So all I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, is when we have an opportunity to do that or repeat that, it's up to us as policymakers to ask people like this particular company that they're contracting with to go ahead and challenge themselves to provide those opportunities. And when I met with them, and which is the organization that we're talking about now, they were amazingly quick to say, yes, we'd like to do that. They outlined in detail what they were going to do and who they were going to involve, and they went one step further. They said, women are not very often involved in golf, but not only are we going to do a program to invite young boys and girls, we're going to have a program specifically to get more women to play golf at our facility, and I was very pleased to see that. So once again, I'd like to say thank you to the LAWA staff and Ed Sauce of the Van Nuys Golf Management Partners for their willingness to say yes, 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 to give back to this community, but equally important, they outlined very clearly, as was mentioned by one of the speakers, the minimum guarantee is going to be $325,000 to LAWA. Whether nobody shows up to play golf or not, LAWA is going to get guaranteed to get that money annually, whether the revenue shows up or not. But in the meantime, from day one, they're going to start investing millions of dollars into this facility so that it's no longer the dilapidated facility that the community does not deserve to have in their midst. And it's going to become a world-class facility that welcomes children, women, families, and everybody to have a wonderful and safe place to play this wonderful game called golf. So once again, in the honor and the spirit of the young people like Angela Biela, who became a world-class golfer because we provided her with that opportunity, I think that there's going to be 1, 2, hopefully dozens of Angela Vielas or Andy Vielas out there in the future who we're going to see on television playing on the world tour, and they're going to be able to say, I got my start at this Van Nuys golf course because this organization gave me a shot. So thank you to everybody and the LAWA staff.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas, and I hope one of those agreements that they made to you was allowing you to have 5 mulligans every time you play there. Okay, we want to make sure. Your inspiring speech has inspired 3 others to speak on this item, Mr. Wesson, Mr. Reyes, and Ms. Hahn.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President and members. I remember I think I had just left the legislature, and Mr. Cardenas had told me about this program that he started to teach young minority kids the sport of golf. And we were at, Mr. Cardenas, a tournament outside of San Diego, and you brought her to play. And she wasn't the tallest or the strongest looking young lady in the world. Fortunately for me, I think Mr. Cardenas and his group were playing in front of me. And the whole day, and I'll never forget this, I sat up and was amazed. She was 15 or 16 at that point in time, and she could outdrive just about anyone that was involved in that. In fact, I was playing in a group with Alex Padilla, Senator Alex Padilla. So that's why we were so close. So I'm so proud to hear about her success, and that this program will afford other young kids the opportunity to learn this fun game and a game that really, some of the nicest people in the world are golfers. So I would love to see more of our children involved in that. But I will never, ever forget that young lady, and I'm so excited that I might have the opportunity to see her on television. But the last thing I want to say, I don't think Mr. Cardenas gives himself enough credit. This was a program that somehow he paid for. Somehow he put the monies together so that he could give these kids an opportunity. And for that, I salute you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Cardenas, of course.
No, Councilmember Wesson, of your fine words of encouraging her to continue on, but also 2 points on that. Not only did she outdrive everybody, but she was in the fairway every single time. And it's called a scramble, and there were 3 men and 1 young girl, and we used her drive every single time. And then secondly, you know how important juvenile justice reforms are to all of us, Ms. Hahn and you, Mr. Wesson, and Mr. Reyes, all of us. A survey was done, and of people who are in prison, and unfortunately, not one person who was surveyed had been a golfer. So the converse of that is, we're hoping that as we introduce more young people in tough neighborhoods to golf, that perhaps we can continue that, so that if you play golf, maybe there's a direct correlation that you're not going to end up on the bad side of a situation. Thank you very much, Mr. Wesson.
Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. And you're right, Council President. His presentation, his speech did inspire us. But it's not just the speech, it's the significance of it. Colleagues, we all know that the state of California, I think, is the bottom 10 in education nationally. Our scholarships aren't available for our kids anymore. There's no way for them to get to higher education. And Councilman Cardenas, in opening up this sport to a whole population that essentially can now compete for scholarships to get to college because of that athleticism that is untapped, is amazing. But on top of that, to be able to work this facility with a city agency to create a venue in the future for at least 10 years assures a pipeline of opportunities that otherwise would not have existed. So when we're cutting back parks, we're looking at the issue of hours and what facilities are going to open. Here we have a 10-year facility that will be guaranteed. So my hat's off to you, Councilman Cardenas. We look at your work in committee on the gang issue and how we deal with solutions and real answers. You can't get any more real than this. So folks are saying, well, what is this guy promoting golf? I mean, when do you see us playing golf? I mean, it doesn't fit the image. The fact is, you're creating new image, new opportunities, a whole different mindset about a future, about career, and it really breaks the mold because we find ourselves confining ourselves from these very same stereotypes. So congratulations, Councilman Cardenas. It is very relevant what you're doing. It is really connected to this notion of a better future for young people. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I just wanted to rise and say, colleagues, this is a great example for all of us. This was in our committee, and it could have been just a routine lease agreement at the Van Nuys Airport to run the golf course. But on the day we were scheduled to approve it, Mr. Cardenas came and said, wait a minute. I don't think we have from this company what we need. And he saw an opportunity to really provide for young people in the context of us agreeing to this lease. And I think about Ed Reyes, and you kind of are always encouraging us, every time we look at something, how do we find more jobs for our young people? It's just a matter of how we begin to use our leverage, our power for good. And this was a good example of it could have just been a routine lease, but Tony said, no, let's try to think in this particular instance of our young people. How can we ultimately bring young people into this idea of golf? And we sat here and honored John Young this morning, who's bringing baseball to the inner city. I really believe, you know me, I've said this all along, we'll never arrest our way out of, the gang or crime problem in Los Angeles. Our only hope is to grow up a generation of young people who will make other choices. Our problem has been we haven't given them other choices. This is a great example of us giving them a choice to play golf and hopefully steer them on the right path. So thank you, Tony, for paying attention to this and really getting something important for the young people of really not just the Van Nuys area, but we think ultimately this is a good model to go throughout the city. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. With that, let's go prepare the roll and tabulate the vote on this item.
13 eyes.
That is approved. If we can adjourn forthwith without objection, and we will now adjourn the special meeting, go back to the regular meeting, and we have a special one. Mr. City Attorney, on the findings.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since the posting of today's agenda, the People Helping People Shelter has informed city staff that an incorrect address listed in a previous council motion designating winter shelter locations has resulted in possible eviction actions based upon Department of Building and Safety inspections. Immediate action is required to correct the address listing in order to avoid an impending eviction. Council must first make findings pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2 before considering the substantive motion.
All right. Anybody else on the findings? If not, let's prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 eyes.
Thank you. On the substance, Mr. Parks.
Simple amendment.
Okay. Let's go ahead and prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 eyes.
That is approved. Next order of business, please.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Member Hahn, request to be excused January 25th, 26th, 28th, February 1st, 2nd, 4th, 8th, 9th, and 11th for personal business. That all meets council policy.
All right. Despite Mr. Smith's momentary pause, we'll excuse her.
Councilmember Cardenas, request to be excused April 8th and June 17th for city business. That meets council policy.
All right, he is excused.
Councilmember Reyes, request to be excused February 18th, March 25th, May 27th, and June 17th for city business. That meets council policy.
All right, he is excused.
Councilmember Garcetti, request to be excused to leave at 12:30 on Tuesday, January 11th for city business. That meets council policy.
All right, I'm excused.
Councilmember Wesson, request to be excused to arrive at 11:30 on January 14th for city business. That also meets council policy.
All right, he is excused.
And Councilmember Perry, request to be excused to arrive at 11 a.m. on January 28th for city business. That also meets council policy.
Okay, he's excused.
The desk is clear.
Okay. Any announcements, colleagues? Mr. Tom LaBonge?
May I throw right at you under your leadership this weekend? Public Works throughout southern Los Angeles, northern Los Angeles, central Los Angeles, Operation Pothole. Call 311. They are lining up over 50 trucks, especially funded. And Mr. Garcetti, if you want to add to that, because you led on that.
Absolutely. The deadline, you still have 50 minutes to report potholes to 311 if you want them done this weekend, but they will continually be resurfaced this coming week if you can't make the deadline. But you can go to the Bureau of Street Services homepage. You can put it up on our Facebook page, Twitter us, or just best call 311. Give us the exact address. The intersection is helpful as well, nearest cross street, and we'll have about 10 or 15,000 potholes repaired this weekend. Thank you, Mr. LaBonge. Other announcements, colleagues?
Announcement.
Yes, Mr. LaBonge.
I did get one email that they did like Love Me Tender, so God bless Elvis, and God bless you all for putting up with me.
Let's hope they're not keeping the other ones from you, all right? We have any other announcements, colleagues, for this weekend? If not, we do have an annual citywide cleanup. I believe Mr. LaBonge and Mr. Wesson are going to be at San Marino Park with PAVA this weekend. That's at 8:45. We'll have a couple thousand young people out to help clean up Koreatown, and I know Mr. LaBonge and Mr. Wesson will be out there as well. So we invite folks to come join us tomorrow at 8:45. There's no other announcements. Do we have any adjourning motions today? Seeing no adjourning motions, Mr. Clerk, do we have adjourning motions? Mr. Bond, you have one? Please, if I can ask everybody to rise in council for our adjourning motions. If I can ask everybody in chambers to please rise. Thank you. This is when we recognize those who have passed. Mr. LaBonge.
Members, with sadness, I report a friend of all of ours, father, passed, Jesus Alfredo Acosta. He passed away recently on the 5th of January, just this week, after a brief and courageous battle against cancer. He was 71 years old. Alfredo and his wife, Maria Luisa, settled in Hollywood when they got married, and they had 3 children. They were raised and attended local schools, Los Feliz Elementary, our Mother of Good Counsel Church, as well as John Marshall High School. As parishioners of Mother Good Counsel, they were very good parishioners who helped in many, many great causes of that. Alfredo worked for many years at the Children's Hospital right there on Sunset Boulevard in the accounting department, retiring from the hospital in the late 1990s. Our dear friend Luisa is the wife of Victor Frankl Jr. She's at Farmers Insurance. Her dad, who she really loved, and when you know a friend who talks about their parents and shows that love, you know how special it is. So at 71 years old, it's a tragic passing. So we want to send her condolences, not only survived by their daughter Luisa, also their sons Freddie and Manny, and his grandchildren Melinda, Joaquin, Adam, and Diego Acosta. I ask we adjourn in memory of Jesus Alfredo Acosta.
We'll put all members. Mr. Rizar, would you like to add?
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and I certainly want to be added to that. I knew him, and my wife is actually the godmother of Luisa's and Victor's child, and we would see him at several family events. Someone who seemed very caring and loving and adoring to his grandchildren and to his children, and always made people laugh. But someone who I'm missing around at different family events. He kept some of his traditions from Mexico alive, while at the same time always talking about how great this country is and all the opportunities that have been provided to his grandchildren and to his children. So I will certainly miss him, along with my wife Rochelle, who will certainly miss him as well.
Thank you. Anybody else want to add to that? We'll make sure all members are on that. Any other adjourning motions? Mr. Huizar?
Thank you, Mr. President. And also, if we could, both myself and Mr. Reyes, adjourn in the memory, along with the council, of Ashley Victoria Prado Zamorano, who passed away on December 22nd, 2010. She passed away as a result of a car crash. She was born on November 18th, 1984, and was only 16 years old. She grew up in Lincoln Heights. She was a junior at Abraham Lincoln High School, where she received her angel's wings. Ashley was a beautiful young lady, both inside and out. She was a loving, kind, respectful, and loyal daughter, sister, and friend. Ashley was a true athlete, a member of the Lincoln High School varsity cheer squad, junior varsity girls softball squad, who also played on different championship softball teams in our community, and she played basketball as well. She loved to make people laugh, to draw, and her passion was writing. She often wrote her own poetry and songs and loved to journal. Ashley will best be remembered by her beautiful smile, which could light up a room. She will forever be missed by all who knew and loved her. She is survived by her mother, Delilah Prado Zamorano, and her sister, Gabrielle Prado. Funeral services will be held on Saturday, January 8th at Sacred Heart in Lincoln Heights, and interment will follow immediately at Rose Hill Memorial Park in Whittier. Memorial contributions can be made to the Ashley Victoria Prado Zamorano Fund in care of Erica Prado, account number 855-7619783 at Wells Fargo Bank. Condolences can be sent to the family at 2244 Parkside Avenue, Los Angeles, 90031, apartment 104. Tragic loss so early in her life.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. I want to thank Councilman Huizar. This past week, I experienced that incredible event in which the communities of El Sereno, Lincoln Heights, the surrounding neighborhood, they all showed up at Lincoln High School's cafeteria to support the family. Ashley's mom is a single parent, and her sister, Gabby. And the spirit that was there was just truly amazing. This is a school that is still suffering a 50% dropout rate. It has a lot of challenges. 10 years ago, we put up the first lights for their football stadium. And they had a very tough time with their football teams. But this past season, they were 9-2. The spirit there that Ashley was part of was an amazing turnaround in the school. And to have her leave us so soon was very traumatic for the kids. The cheerleaders were there, the pep squad, the athletes. But what was very inspiring were the number of parents that were there and how they came together. They had a dinner. There was a fundraiser to help out Ashley's parents, her mom. And a far cry from what was happening 10 years ago in terms of the spirit and the health and the sense of optimism in that school. And Ashley was a big part of that in how she participated with the team, with the cheerleading squad. And it's just an amazing place. And the spirit was just overwhelming, and we're going to miss her. So thank you, Councilmember, for bringing.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. There are no other adjourning motions. Mr. Clerk, if you please call the roll. And we'll next be in session this coming Tuesday at 10 a.m. here in the council chambers. I'm sorry, I missed one. We have one more adjourning motion. Do not call the roll yet. Mr. Koretz.
I'd like to adjourn in memory of Lester Paley, who passed away suddenly on December 31st at the age of 84. Mr. Paley was a distinguished civil engineer and provided significant leadership for the city and the Jewish community. As a native of Brooklyn, he attended City College of New York, joined the Navy during World War II, and in 1959 he founded Lester Paley and Associates, which had a hand in hundreds of commercial and residential structures. The firm designed Martin Luther King Jr. Shopping Center, Gower Gulch Shopping Center, numerous Big Five stores, Alpha Betas, Ralph's, John's Markets, Thrifty Drug Stores, and most recently several Whole Foods markets. Lester Paley also worked continuously and full-time at his firm for 51 years, including the last week of 2010. He was a world traveler who was committed to social justice, Jewish identity, community, family, and friends. He and his family were an integral part of the Valley City's Jewish Community Center. He was one of the folks who fought valiantly and unfortunately was not successful in trying to save the Valley City's Jewish Community Center, which was sold in 2008. He was also serving on the governing board and founders board for Yiddishkeit, an organization which holds classes and events in many parts of Los Angeles. Lester's son, Aaron, is chair and founder of that same organization. He is survived by his wife of 63 years, Sylvia Doris Lazarus Paley, 5 children, and their spouses and 6 grandchildren, and he will be missed and had a significant impact on the landscape of Los Angeles.
Thank you, Mr. Koretz. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll. This meeting of the Los Angeles City Council is adjourned. Thank you. Have a great weekend.